I'm at the bank making money, making moves. Machines with tools and drills, making grooves. Missions impossible. That's lotsable. I'm upside down.
Happy Friday, investors. Welcome back to In the Green with Charlie. Today I am interviewing one of Invstr's most famous users, Hunter Berg. Hunter talks about what he has gotten out of his involvement on the app and explains recent trends in Bitcoin.
I'm at the bank making money, making moves. Machines with tools and drills, making grooves. Missions impossible. That's lotsable. I'm upside
Hey Hunter, how's it going today?
Hey, Charlie, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So could you just briefly introduce yourself? I know you're a really big member of the investor community, but for people who might not know, who are you?
Yeah, for sure. I've been studying psychology for most of my background. I got involved with Invstr my first year of my master's degree, where I was studying behavioral economics. And I basically just hit them up. I loved the app. I met a lot of great people on the app, and I started just doing daily posts, daily watch lists, talking a lot about what I'm mostly interested, which is cryptocurrency, and just kind of helping them build a community over the last year and a half, 2 years.
So what's been some of the best parts about that time you've been super involved with the app?
I have to say, overall, it has to be the people. There's so many storylines that I experienced over those almost 2 years. It was, it started with people like Chrystine, the sisters, Sylvie, and Thomas Quinlan, eventually, Rehan, many different people who, Jackson Monroe, that was early on too. Just so many people who joined up with me, really helped build the community. And each person really brought kind of a really awesome addition to the Invstr story, at least the one that I experienced. And I think many followers who are still on the app today can attest to. So definitely getting involved with people, learning what they do. Artists, anything from artists to business owners to 12-year-olds just, completing middle school. That was probably the coolest part of my time on the app.
Yeah, you said you helped out a bunch of people from a ton of different backgrounds. What are some of the coolest stories from people you talked to or interacted with?
Honestly, I mean, the sisters was the starting one. I guess their father was really into investing and always tried to get them into it. And I know Chrystine wasn't really into it and became an artist. And then, later in life, she decided that, it's time to do it. And I know that it brought success to my parents, so I should do it now. And other than that, you have Jackson Monroe, who really learned fast. He became like an investing phenom, trading a lot and being really successful. And then I think he's into modeling right now. He kind of left the app, but then you have Rehan, who I believe is 12 years old. He just picked up everything so quick and led the leaderboards every single month for so long. And after he came along, I felt like I had to do a lot less work because people were just following all of his moves. So those are just three of them that I can think of.
What are some of the best things you learned from your whole experience being super involved with the app?
Oh man, I would have to say that it was just building a digital community, getting experience, seeing what that's all about, seeing it over the long term, and what kind of drove some people away, what drove a lot of people to the app, what people really loved in the field of investing, and how to really connect with so many different types of people. And like when I say connect, I mean, how can you show them or allow them or nudge them to create the connection that, oh, investing is totally for me. It's totally for everyone, and I should tell more people about it. And, Invstr is a perfect platform for me to do that.
Gotcha. And so to pivot a little bit here, you mentioned how much you are passionate and you know about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. A lot has been going on with Bitcoin recently, and it's been shooting up. Could you just explain to people who might not have as much understanding about Bitcoin, what's going on with Bitcoin and why is it going up so much now?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I kind of try to simplify this as much as possible, because when you get into blockchain, when you get into cryptocurrency, it's very complex, very fast. How I simplify it is this: you have the interest of investors across the world because of, there's another store of value, and it's been around for over 10 years now. And so you have retail investors kind of like, yeah, I'll check that out. I'll read about that. Then about leading up to 2017, you didn't have many institutional investors. And if they were involved, then they were very, they weren't like mainstream institutions. They weren't the JP Morgans. They were like the lesser known institutions that were taking more risk on, and most of them did very well. But since 2017, we've seen these JP Morgans and the Morgan Stanleys kind of just giving Bitcoin the thumbs down. But as we've learned recently, that's not what they were actually doing. You now have the JPM coin, which is the JP Morgan crypto. You have all of these institutions who have been accumulating and manipulating the market over this time, which investors who have been with me, that's what I was saying since I joined the app. So you have retail investors, you have institutional investors who are into it now and just accumulating like crazy. What's the last major hoop you have to get through? Well, it's regulations. It's states and governments and how they're going to tax crypto, and if they're going to ban it or what they're going to do. Well, here's the deal on that front. There's many more pro crypto senators and leaders in Congress, in the US at least. But what about the news about a month ago with PayPal, which is providing another means of people to get into crypto, to make it more mainstream? Kind of reminds me of what was needed in the early 70s, late 60s to move people from only using cash to using credit cards, stuff like that. PayPal is kind of becoming a medium that can do that. And then now, so the US government is now sitting on $1 billion in crypto that they managed to snag away from people who were laundering money and doing, not so good things on the Silk Road in the early 2010s until now. So the US government is sitting on $1 billion in Bitcoin. You have the governments, you have the institutions, and you have retail. And what else do you need?
So what advice would you give to someone who maybe doesn't know a ton about Bitcoin, but is interested in learning more and getting involved? Where should they go to learn more, and what should they understand before getting involved in any way?
Yeah, it's a great question. I really recommend CoinTelegraph. I recommend just reading the news of the day on crypto. Start doing that here and there. I know that CoinTelegraph, those articles come on the investor feed. So I would just look up on the search bar CoinTelegraph for the daily articles. And a lot of it's not going to make sense to the newcomers in crypto and Bitcoin. But as you read, anything that you don't know, look it up, and just slowly you'll start putting the pieces together, because jumping into anything cold is really tough. If I wanted to learn more about something I don't know, like I don't know much about like the copper market. If I wanted to really dive into that, I would do it the same way. Find that resource and then read it every day or every couple of days and, treat it like you're a detective. Just put those pieces together and slowly get into it.
I think what's tough for a lot of people with Bitcoin compared to something like either stocks or even something like the copper market, as you just mentioned, is intuitively, I know like, I feel like I can understand, okay, why does a stock go up? Because the company is growing, because they had a good earnings report, because there's good news, because that certain sector has good news. Why does copper's price increase? Well, because there's growing demand for copper, because this, and that are happening in the world. I
Right.
don't know if a lot of people understand what indicators do I look for that, like, okay, Bitcoin is not going to go up because this happens. So what are a few of those things?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, is looking at the dollar, the strength of the dollar. Inflation within the U.S. Affects the whole world, no matter whether you're a U.S. citizen or you're in Europe, you're in Asia. It's the standard for business across the globe. So you look at the strength of the U.S. dollar, and that's been falling because we've been pumping so much extra dollar bills into the economy, the world economy. So you see the dollar going down. Well, that's a great sign to show that people are getting stressed about the dollar, about inflation. There's too many dollars, and it's going to lead to the the effectiveness or the value of the dollar just plummeting over the next just forever, basically. Over the next 20 years, 25 years, we're probably going to see the dollar. $100 today is going to get you $50 worth of goods. So that's the major indicator that I watch. You see the dollar going down, Bitcoin, which is it does not inflate. There's only 21 million of them, and there's already 5 million of them that have been lost. There's going to be more people who, whether they pass away or whether they just lose their keys, many Bitcoin are going to be lost and never able to, you're not going to get them again. So in fact, that's actually deflationary. So that's one indicator. Another indicator is kind of tech. It rises and falls with tech more so. And then legislation. That last point I said earlier in the interview, looking at governance, how governments are going to tax crypto. Any news on that? Any news on the adoption of public companies, PayPal and Square making their first $1 billion on their crypto investment this past quarter? That kind of news is astronomical. And yeah, so just any the public companies, the U.S. Any governments basically saying in any way that they are pro crypto, they're going to help their crypto investors, they're going to be investing in crypto, things like that. Anything like that are good indicators for Bitcoin or future Bitcoiners.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast today. It was really interesting to hear both about your favorite things with your time on the app. So thank you very much.
Money making moves, machines with tools and drills making grooves, missions impossible.
I am not a financial advisor, and my comments should never be taken as financial advice. Investments come with risk, so always do your research and analysis beforehand.